And I think all of us can recognize a spot where we found something that resonated with others. Most likely it was on social media somewhere, but yet it really wasn't us. I care about every person in our restaurants, from the customer to the employees, so much that it drives me crazy in a good way. If we seek perfection in serving all of them, I know we'll be great. You can lead others and with vision and impact. Hey, what's next, crew? Welcome back for the 2024 Highlight Show, where I'm going to take you on a little journey to some of my favorite quotes and tidbits of information that I know resonated with you because we went through them both in our comment section, also some of the responses that we sent out. And I think you're going to find this pretty interesting. We're going to reference every one of the shows, not in exact order, as we kind of bulk them up into certain themes. But before we get started on that, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in over this past year. All the best comments and questions that have really fueled us getting the guests on that we have. As you can tell, we've got our new studio set up here now that we're settled in California. Hair's still a little wet, getting out of the water after a little surf session this morning. And I thought no better way than to wrap up this year than to kind of dive in and throw upon you guys some of the thoughts we've had for what's made this year great, all based on quotes from the people who have been on the show. So without further ado, let's dive in. Start with episode number 1. My good friend Patrick Dees said, "We are no longer just spectators. We are co-creators in how the game is played. The fan experience is revolutionizing the way we think about sports." And my takeaway from that was, as he's running fan controlled, which literally is professional sports being controlled by the fans, I thought that giving over of power has really transcended the way we do business. And so it used to be that you had a boss that told you what to do and you went and did that. And I think we're finding now that the most successful companies on the planet, whether they're small entrepreneurial startups like a lot of you are, to multinational conglomerates, they're giving the people the power to do what they do best. And I think that's a recurring theme. That's why I wanted to open up there. But Patrick really did say that I think giving people that power, whether it's controlling what happens at a sports game all the way down to what's happening in life and work, it's certainly having impact. And I thought that was a great place to start. So that was episode 1. Episode 6, arguably maybe one of my favorites, because I got to have on my 2 boys, Josh and Owen Finnerty, who I couldn't be more proud of the journey they've been on, both as just being great humans, but also starting up a business of their own called the Golf Sock. And now they're getting into version number 2, season, if you will, year number 2 of the business and starting to grow their own path. Josh said this: "What we learned from being part of a team in sports, we applied it to building a business. It's all about collaboration and staying focused on the goal." And I think really the highlight there was, in every team, you have a goal. It's whether it's to win a championship, make the playoffs after 3 years of not making the playoffs, or whatever it might be. The one thing is you can take that goal and really turn it into something absolutely special. And it's no different in business. So I think that's a key component that Josh took with him. And certainly even at 23 years of age, he and his brother are living that every day. So catch that one in episode 6. Episode 9, a guy that I've known since he was 8 years old, and he's now in his 40s, Eric Sullivan said from the sports facilities companies, "Leadership starts with knowing your purpose. If you're clear on your why, you could lead others and with vision and impact." And so really, I think Eric has done a tremendous job of transforming his teams, and they've grown from literally a handful, less than a dozen, 8 or 9 years ago, to over 1,000 today, is they are very clear with what the why is of their business. And that is, team and sport is going to change communities. And without that, they don't hire the right people. They don't embrace the right people. They don't promote the right people. And so they have created this culture, really understanding the why of their business, and they find people that go on that journey. So that's episode 9. Make sure you grab that with Eric Sullivan. All right, moving on to episode 14. Same theme here. Robert Wolf, famous for his work at Moose Jaw Mountaineering, said that success comes not just from hard work, but from embracing the chaos and finding your way through with persistence. If you go back and listen to episode 14, it will become very, very clear that Robert loves the chaos, from playing pickup baseball in the parking lot of their first location and almost taking that same energy and chaos into the store and serving customers with that same sort of passion and let's go, let's go, let's go, all the way down to speed is of the essence. And he's got a whole host of things he talked about in that episode. But really, it's about embracing the chaos that comes and in part creating some of that so you get this energy. And again, that fits his culture and his style. So I think it's a perfect fit for where he was going, what he was doing. Episode 20, we had Dan Abrahams on, and Dan, who world-renowned sports psychologist, has worked with some of the greatest players, both in the English Premier League, professional rugby players, all the way down to coaches, professional golfers. He himself as a professional golfer said this, that leadership is built through experience and resilience is the foundation that supports it. And so in that, Dan was very clear in saying that as you gain sort of this experience in your leadership style, the only real way to test it and to see if it kind of carries its weight is to put it into practice. And so I think we can do that in business every day, is to keep consistently checking and testing our leadership styles. Testing, do we need more experience? And when we get it, can we put it into practice? And Dan did a fantastic job of making sure that he was communicating that. And he gives that same tool, I think a very foundational tool, to every one of his teams, his athletes, his coaches that he works with every day. As we think about the next theme, which is personal growth, nobody comes to mind better to kick off this part of the thematic series than our good friend Marissa Masana, who played at the highest level of women's golf, the LPGA Tour, but is also just a great coach, mentor. She's an amazing speaker, and she has this very introspective look at what makes her unique. And I think she's still, she would say today, still on that journey. So we're going to open up this theme with her quote: personal growth begins with understanding who you are and then using that awareness to find meaningful goals. And I know one of the things that she's consistently done is to identify those goals based on where she is, seeking some aspiration, but being well-grounded in what her experience has been. And she brings that to others, whether she's out on a golf course or speaking at a corporate event. I think that kind of lends itself to making sure that you really understand where you are and who you are as you get ready to set those goals. So I thought that was a great way to kick off that theme. Episode 7, Josh Jacobs, who is changing the landscape for young golfers, staying on that theme, changing the landscape for high school golfers looking to go into college and find their path. And the one thing that he found was not all kids, and I think we know this as parents, are not all are the same. Some want to play Division I collegiate golf. Others just want to go for the experience and being a part of the team and may want to play based on their school choice, NAIA, Division III, Division II, not one, or junior college, not one size fits all. And so Josh, in his creation of the college golf experience, had this to say: we're changing the game for college golf recruitment by providing athletes and their parents the tools they need to stand out and be seen by the right people. And I think the very end of that is very key. So as he democratized the tools of what it takes, so it's not just for the select few, but for the many, getting in front of the right people is about understanding who you are and where you want to be. And Josh spends almost the entire episode talking about that. So if you're kind of wondering where this whole idea of who we are and where we fit, maybe as a company, maybe as a person, maybe I'm trying to identify my superpower, I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 7. Josh talks a lot about that there. Episode 12, we had my longstanding friend, Cisco Terreros, who is a world-renowned sports agent, specifically in soccer, but he's worked in music, the Olympics, NASCAR. He said this: being authentic and genuinely caring about people is what has allowed me to build strong relationships in this industry of sport. And I think nothing could be more true than when you actually look at what it takes to be in your place, insert industry here. If you're going to have a place of respect and influence, knowing how to build those relationships that are not just good, in his case, as he mentioned, not just good for the athlete, but they're also good for the team. It's not just good for the athlete, it's also good for the sponsor or the equipment manufacturer or the retailer in that case. So Cisco goes into great detail about talking about that. And I think as he does, you'll see a lot of common themes that sort of create this win-win-win, right? We talk about it with our people, our process, and our product. And so I think that three-legged stool, that win that gets created there, Cisco talks a lot about it in that episode, in episode 12. So make sure you get a tune into that. In episode 17, Jason Okroy, who ex-collegiate soccer player, went on to form an amazing company in the security and data protection space, and have recently sold it, does everything from employee veterans, putting them and helping them into the workforce after their time of service, all the way to protecting Fortune 50 companies from data breaches and helps them with data management. This is what Jason said: when your business is grounded in purpose and passion, success becomes a natural byproduct of the work you do. The business is grounded in purpose and passion. And in that episode, it becomes no secret that Jason, very, very passionate about helping people. And you can say there could not maybe be a more dry industry than data management, right? Because it's literally not people, it's just data. But yet his humanizing effect to help veterans move into that workforce, get them collaborating with others, pull out their superpower, if you will. He built an entire company on that he was able to build, grow, and sell. And ultimately, I think through that episode, you're going to find that it isn't just about the industry you're in. It's most importantly about the people who you're helping grow in that space. So give episode 17 a listen. And then finally, for that theme, Bryan Doyle said this, who, as you'll see in that episode, he is a monster of a man, over 6'6", national team rugby player, international rugby professional, walks the walk, talks the talk about not only fitness, but sort of mental strength and well-being. Said the best leadership is about guiding people through challenges with empathy and persistence. It is not about control, but understanding. And so for a guy with his stature, just to pick that, he could certainly be an imposing force in any company and probably make demands on people and just by size be able to do that. But in reality, he takes the opposite approach, which is leaning in with empathy, grace, understanding, and that is part of his culture. I'm fortunate to be an investor in his company, and also very fortunate to call him a mentee, and I learn as much as I give at times with him. His management style, there is a lot to learn in that episode about how he goes about embracing this idea of empathetically working with and coaching people. So give that one a listen. Okay, ripping through to theme 3. Say that one 5 times fast, which is purpose. And I say also authenticity kind of goes with our understanding of purpose. So aligning those things in your business, really knowing why your company, your product, you, if you are the company and the product, why do you exist and why would the world miss you if you weren't there, is a key component. That's why it's kind of sandwiched here in the middle. And a few of the episodes were kind of pulled out some highlights where that was really the theme and the talk of what was going on. In the very first episode, which was kind of meet me as the host, Patrick had done some interviewing questions with me. And I said, everything I've done from my playing career has been about building something meaningful, following my passion and using the lessons I learned in sport to guide me. And in short, it's really follow what you love and do what you love, and the money will follow after. And I know that can be an overused term these days, but in reality, the places I've gone away from that, doing things that I don't love so much or getting into businesses that I don't bring as much value, I can tell you success rate's pretty low. Where I have followed my passion and I lose track of time because I am so engrossed in what I'm doing and so joyful in being around the people that are doing it with me, the success is really followed. So I think just as we kick off that understanding your purpose theme, in that first episode, I talk a lot about that, or kind of following that somewhat whimsically in the beginning and then very purposefully here as I've gotten later on in my career. In episode 5, Mike Brown, who is our COO, he's also a great friend and is the organization behind all of what we do. He is as systematic and organized as it comes, understands this idea of, yes, you've got a purpose and a passion. Can you then translate that into something that resonates with the people who we work with and work for? Mike said this: the most powerful thing as a leader, or the most powerful thing a leader can do, is empower their team. The less you control, the more they grow. And I would also add, the more the company grows. So Mike does a great job of explaining the why we're doing what we're doing, or the where we're going as a company, or where we'd like to get to. What Mike does not do is to tell somebody how to go do it. That's why we've hired great people. That's why we partner with amazing partners, is we believe that their superpower, their secret sauce is the what. Like what you do and how you're going to get us there is really important. And Mike embraces that. The entire episode, he talks about the building of that foundation. And I think it's worth a listen on that side. If you're just kind of wondering, how do I get that put in place so that I can empower my people to go do what they do really well and cut them loose to go do it? That episode is packed full of plenty of little tidbits that you'll enjoy there. A guy who's on my SEAL Team 6, and I'm really thrilled. He's been on a couple of episodes with us this last year. In episode 8, Jeremy Eisenberg, from the pinnacle of what it takes to find your North Star to setting brand on purpose, said this: your personal brand is your most valuable asset. Make sure it's built on authenticity and value that resonates with people. And I think the two key components there, the authenticity and the value that resonates, are super important, because it's not just a personal brand, it can be your company brand. But if you really distill it down to, as go I, so go they. So we're going to start with ourselves first. If what you're creating is inauthentic, it will fall flat on its face. So the first and foremost thing is find the thing that's authentic. And I think all of us can recognize a spot where we found something that resonated with others. Most likely it was on social media somewhere, where we were doing something that got a lot of likes, a lot of thumbs up, a lot of looks, a lot of whatever's views, but yet it really wasn't us. And that becomes very hard to replicate without living two lives. And if there's one thing about this show that we've made crystal clear for all of our athletes and entrepreneurs, because this as high performers, is that we want experience, not opinion. We know that it's the real deal that works, not the fake deals that work. And so as you think about that with regard to your personal brand and the brand for your company, Jeremy did a really, really good job of making sure that you land on the authentic part that makes you, that makes your company you. That's what's going to resonate in the market. So give that a check. That's in episode 8. Moving on, Michael Breed, world-renowned golf teacher, has worked with some of the best players on the planet, has also been the teaching pro at arguably one of the best golf courses, Augusta, on the planet, and has been a host of shows on the Golf Channel, his own radio show on Sirius XM, and I could go on and on. Michael said this: you can't grow as a leader if you're not consistently and constantly learning, evolving, and improving your relationships with others. And in that episode, Michael talks a lot about not the nuts and bolts of teaching a golf swing, but getting to learn about his partners that are sponsors, his students, who he would literally spend probably more time prepping for their lesson than the actual lesson itself. That doesn't come with this rinse, wash, repeat mentality. This comes from a listen and learn, and bring value to others. And Michael moved very fast through that episode. We really ran through it. It was awesome. And I've listened to it 3 or 4 times already. I'd encourage you to do the same. Even if you've listened to it before, give it another listen, because I think you're going to find in there this idea that as you build your relationships with others, things just kind of come back to you. And he used the term kind of creating your own luck, and that kind of fell in that category. And then finally, under that last theme, Jeff Duden, who I've come to know pretty well, owner and CEO of Homefront Brands, one of the largest franchising businesses on the planet. My brother Matt and I do own, disclaimer, own one of the franchises within his family, and have loved that experience. Jeff said this, also was on Undercover Boss, so you can go check out his episode there. The key to growth is having the courage to make the tough decisions when faced with challenges. And as simple as that sounds, he also tags into that episode the statement of rush to conflict, meaning if you know it's an issue, it's got to be dealt with. Don't sweep it under the carpet. Don't kick the can down the road. Get in there, make it happen, answer the call, and you will be better for it. And he cites example after example. He was a high-performing athlete in college, took that same resiliency into business that he built and sold, tells the story of having plenty of people in the family working for him, realizing that may have not have been the best thing, making some tough decisions, whittling that down to the ones who are really the right fit in the company, and this sort of spirit of rush to conflict to get the best for you and for them. It pervades that entire episode. So I'd encourage you to go give that a listen. And last but not least, the theme, kind of the number 4 here, and obviously it fits pretty well with who I am as an ex-pro athlete. I think a lot of you who have been at some form of your athletic abilities, a high achiever in that, is teamwork. And in episode 2, Bryan Verdergo, who probably one of the top 5 guys in the golf industry that maybe you've never heard of, but I guarantee you, if you're in that industry, you've used a product, you've sat in a golf cart with his technology, you've had a handheld and used his GPS systems. Huge high-level thinker. But before he does any of that, and he's never the smartest guy in the room, although I'd argue he most of the time is, we'll tell you about his team and the teamwork. And Bryan said this: the discipline and focus I learned from golf helped me create a business that thrives even when challenges arise. If you can focus on the goal, you can get through anything. And so I think there's a couple of key points there that when you talk about discipline, and Bryan just kind of lives and breathes this, is once that goal is set, not that it isn't changeable, but the idea that goal is immovable, meaning we are going to get there. Sure, is it going to take a little zig to the left and a little zag to the right? Quite possibly. But at the end of the day, the discipline to stay the course, and golf teaches us that, right? Because we essentially call penalties on ourselves down to it's us against the golf course, not necessarily us against another competitor. And Bryan does a great job in that episode 2 of really outlining where those pieces fit. And I think for all of us, what we can take from our past experiences as athletes and immediately apply them to the businesses that we're looking to grow today. Back to episode 6, Owen Finnerty had said, the lesson we learned from sports about collaboration are the same that we use to solve the challenges we see today in business. Again, a couple of young dudes who are early in their careers, yet still leveraging those experiences as high-level youth sports players, high school sports players, collegiate sports players, and now into the professional world, still leveraging those experiences on building the foundation for their business as it wraps around teamwork. So episode 6, again, I'm a little biased. Really enjoyed that one, to listen to 2 young bucks, just great voices, enthusiasm, how they collaborate together teamwork-wise, and how they leverage their separate experiences into one to really become 1 + 1 = 3. In episode 18, good friend and business partner of mine, Billy Downs, who is known for not only creating incredible restaurants over his career, but I'd say more importantly, or maybe most importantly, is the culture that he has created inside of what's now Ford's Garage. And he's gone from being franchisee to the CEO and president of that company and head of all franchises at Ford's Garage. Had said this: I care about every person in our restaurants, from the customer to the employees, so much that it drives me crazy in a good way. If we seek perfection in serving all of them, I know we'll be great. And what I love about that is sort of this idea that it's okay to shoot for the stars, the old adage, right, that you'll end up at the moon. But most importantly, that knowing where you're going and how to serve, right, the servant mentality leadership, is really about creating a team of people that have a focus on being great. And Billy spends a lot of time with his group. He talks about it in the episode, again, episode 18, of how he embraces this idea. He involves the team in creating that. It's not a dictatorship. He doesn't come in and wave his fist and say, this is what we're going to do. I've seen it personally in play, where he gets his senior leadership and then gets the team leadership involved in creating. Sometimes it's the mantra for the week that might be around a car show. Others, it might be for the year. Where do they want to go and grow a new restaurant location? And I know that Billy's also doing that now at the corporate level. So if you get a chance, give that a listen. There's a lot in there about building the inner culture of your team that has this outward servant leadership mentality. So definitely worth one listening to. I'd say on the flip side of that, episode 16 had the chance to interview Brad Friedel, who arguably is one of the United States' best goalkeepers to ever play the game. He's seen it at the highest level, from the English Premier League over to Turkey, into the United States, both in coaching and certainly as a player, storied career of just greatness at the U.S. men's national team level, has the ability to oversee hundreds, almost 1,000 different players as he is a sports agent, and has experience both on sideline coaching and as a general manager, looking at these 700 to 1,000 players and how do you build this idea of placing each one with their own superpower into a team. And Brad talks a lot about that. And so he sort of takes this different approach, which is summed up in the way his quote is, which was, great leadership is about inspiring people to work together towards a common goal, no matter the challenges. And he gave us this example of working with Besiktas, a professional team in Turkey, coming in after some really tough and turbulent times, of being able to come in with them from the kitchen staff to the training staff and ultimately to the players and the coaching staff, of getting them aligned on one goal, regardless of a 5-game win streak or a 3-game losing streak, staying focused on what the goals are and fighting through them regardless of the challenge. And so that episode is packed full of great little things from, again, a very high performer in this space. And I think one that there's a lot of takeaways as it comes to that. Back to Jeremy Eisenberg, who in episode 15, where we're talking about the North Star, said self-awareness is a critical component of adapting and leading others effectively. We also heard that from Marissa Masana, that kind of being aware of self and who we are and what we are and identifying your North Star. As Maxwell says, leadership starts with me, leadership starts with you, and then it kind of breathes out of that. So in Jeremy's quote there, and again, we talked a lot about that in episode 15, finding your North Star, was how do I find it? And then once I find it, how do I put it in front of me so that others will know where it is? And especially if it's a company's North Star, how do they know how to go get it? So I encourage you to go listen to that one. It was pretty great. And last but not least, a friend that I've come to know just recently, but you want to talk about sort of thoroughbred, hard-charging, revved up, right? Dave Alpern, CEO of Joe Gibbs Racing. If you just listen to the first 90 seconds of that episode, number one, I know you're going to be hooked, but he gives so many great things about taking Joe as not only an awesome coach, but business owner. And Dave then goes and leverages Joe Gibbs' persona, his personal brand, like Jeremy talked about, and really just emphasizing all of the greatness that surrounds that and building a company and a culture around it. He adds a ton of clarity. He's also written a book on it. And Dave said this: leadership starts with faith in the people around you and a commitment to working together as a team. And if you've listened to the episode or heard anything that Dave has spoke on, faith is a very strong part of what he believes. I got to meet him at a Young Life event where we did nothing but talk about faith and servant attitude. And he is, as Joe Gibbs has done as well, built that into the company culture so strong that the faith in people is about the company is bigger than us. We follow someone who has set that on direction. And that episode really does embody kind of teamwork and how we should build a culture around the people that we're with. So those are the 4 themes. Sort of as we kind of wrap that up, we talked about leadership, personal growth, purpose, and teamwork. My hope for you is that this has been helpful. It's been wildly helpful to me. And again, I can't say thank you enough. Getting ready to celebrate 3 years of being cancer-free, healthy enough to get in the water and surf every day, go out and swing a golf club, spend the holiday season with my family, both in Hawaii and California, and do some traveling. This journey has just been amazing. I hope it's encouraging to you if you're, again, a high-performing athlete or entrepreneur on that journey, that the freedoms that get created around these businesses, these ideas, these concepts really do help to serve us. I hope that I'm a living proof of that. I'm forever on this kind of quest to get bigger and stronger and spread the word about that. And I will tell you, we're not resting on our laurels in 2024. In fact, it's probably just a great jumping off point. 2025 is going to be amazing. We've got so much coming. Episode every week. We've already got our first 12 guys lined up this year. Some of the themes are going to be a little faster, a little stronger. We're launching a newsletter in 2025 that's going to create more of an information source for you. We're going to rebuild the website to then be an information source of where to find some of these resources so that you can learn and grow and get better on your journey. And so my hope for you is that as we kind of hit this last little pause button and catch our breath at the end of the year, we'd get ready to embrace what is coming next, which is the whole impetus for this show. And more than anything, I hope that we can help you find what's next in your life, in your career, and your joy. Join us for what's next.